Unsurprisingly, the video of the best breast pumps of this year is going viral again, and I thought we should talk about it. Mostly because I'm afraid that moms are just going to fast forward to my top pick, the end of that video, and say, all right, that's the best pump, that's the pump I'm buying. And then they'll go in the comments section and yell at me and realize that it was the worst pump ever. Because the truth is, the best breast pump might not be the best pump for your pumping problem. You can buy the most expensive, top-rated, hospital-grade breast pump on the market, but a good breast pump used poorly is a bad breast pump. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know what really matters when it comes to choosing a pump and choosing the best breast pump for you, and how you can make pretty much any pump work effectively. If you're new here, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm an IBCLC and a breast pump expert. I'm also the founder of New Little Life. I help mothers become confident pumping experts so that they can protect their milk supply and feed their babies how they choose. We actually do have a free course on choosing a breast pump to walk you through a lot of metrics. It's even more in depth than this, and I'll put that down below for you because it's free and it's awesome. But let's dive into why the best breast pump isn't always the best. Okay, here's the truth. No breast pump is universally the best. Yes, I can make an informed decision on what pumps are built best, have the best suction, the best settings, the best features, and are easiest to use, clean, store, etc. But a pump that works beautifully for one mom may be completely wrong for another. That's because every body and every milk supply responds differently and presents different needs and challenges. A breast pump is just a machine. The real difference comes in how efficiently you use it. That's why moms see such drastic results on the same pump. You can have the most high-tech pump available, but if your schedule doesn't match your body's natural rhythm, or your flange size isn't right, or you can't quickly trigger letdowns in a pumping session, you won't remove all the milk. And if milk isn't removed well, your supply will drop, no matter how fancy your pump is. The same goes for comfort. Too much suction, or wrong cycles, or poor alignment can lead to pain, swelling, and tissue damage. Efficiency always beats equipment. A good breast pump used incorrectly can be a really, really bad breast pump. No one pump can save your milk supply, and there is no amount of money that you can throw at your milk supply or pumps or products or supplements or anything like that to make it go away or to substitute bad pumping skills. Using a breast pump the wrong way can actually cause more problems than it can solve. So there's a couple of ways that even the best pump on the market can cause problems for you. First might be engorgement. Let's say that you bought the best breast pump on the market and you started pumping right away. You're using the highest settings because you heard more suction means more milk, and this pump has a lot of suction. You're pumping in between feeding sessions, making sure that you're making really good use of this expensive pump that you got. But for some reason, even though you're attached to the pump for 30 minutes at a time, you're still only seeing a few drops in the bottle. Maybe a couple days later, you're feeling engorged. Hopefully you're not in pain, but probably at this point, your breast might be full of milk and it might be difficult to pump anything out. This is actually what happened to someone who attended our last live webinar. She had been stimulating her breast with a breast pump often, but the milk wasn't actually getting removed well because she wasn't using it correctly, didn't have the right equipment with it, wasn't having multiple letdowns. So it actually was sending signals to her brain to make more milk, but the milk wasn't coming out effectively. So the result was she started overproducing and kind of became engorged. Stimulating the breasts without removing milk is like putting in a food order at a restaurant and then never taking the food to the table, right? You're just gonna keep piling up food in the warmer until there's no more room. You're asking your body to produce milk, but the milk isn't getting removed all the way. It can cause problems. So more important than really getting the best breast pump in this case is knowing how to use it correctly and knowing what signals you're sending your body to control your milk supply. Having the right flange size, the schedule, making sure that the settings work well for you, using pumping techniques to help. Oh my gosh, so many things. But no piece of amazing technology can make up for efficient pumping skills. A second thing that can happen is tissue damage. Pumps that pull too hard or sit incorrectly at the breast or aren't being used correctly can bruise and compress tissue. They can reduce milk flow over time as well by doing some of those things and causing inflammation. So if you're seeing your nipple hit the back of the flange, or if it's swelling a lot, if you have rings out around your nipples at the end of a pumping session, if you have any bruises, cracks, if your nipples are sore, swollen, blanched, meaning that they turn white or purple, often those are clear signs that something's not quite right. Either flange sizing needs adjusted or suction settings need adjusted. And you can actually cause permanent damage on your breasts, and it can, again, hurt your milk supply if you do that. Pain with pumping is not normal. Pumping should feel comfortable. And we posted another video recently. I'll put it in the description for you. Because if you are experiencing pain with pumping, just know that buying a newer, nicer, or just different style of pump is not going to solve that problem. You really need to adjust your pump settings for comfort and efficiency. And then third in this scenario might be the flip side of undersupply. If your pump isn't removing milk well, your body's going to make less, right? At first it's going to send more and you're going to get engorged, and then you'll be like, oh, that's too much milk. Your body doesn't want too much milk. So then it's going to intentionally bring it down. Your hormones are important, but the signals that you're sending your body matter a lot when you're pumping. So if your flange size is off, or you're not triggering enough letdowns, or the schedule's wacky, or we're not using the right technique so that we can get the most milk out, your body gets the message to send less milk. So you'll start seeing less and less ounces in the bottle. And sometimes moms wonder why their bodies are failing them. And I hate that, because in fact, low supply and low pumping output is most often caused by just simply leaving milk behind. If you notice there, every single one of those problems comes down to technique, not equipment. A powerful pump doesn't automatically mean a better milk supply. You really can't just forcefully suck milk out of a breast. That's not exactly how a pump works. So if it's not the pump, what actually determines pumping and milk supply success? Instead of putting all of your effort and money and focus into choosing which pump is best for you, these are 6 factors that I would focus on that will actually help you be able to use your pump how it needs to be. These are in no particular order. But first is flange fit, all right? The pump is only half of the equation. The parts that attach to your breast need to fit correctly, because your nipple needs to be moving freely so that milk can flow as it should. You shouldn't be experiencing pain, but your nipple also shouldn't be so tight in there that it's not able to move and let milk out, all right? Measuring your flange size is a really important skill and something that you can do better than anyone else, really. You know you best, because your body is also going to change, and your flange size is likely to adjust several times throughout your journey. And even in the methods that we teach our clients, we teach self-flange sizing in our Pumping Efficiently course, but we teach you that you're probably going to need to adjust this. And I've seen students that need to adjust it several times within a couple weeks, because they come down to a better size and it fits, and then swelling goes down, and then they're like, oh, now this is too big, I need to come down again. And so learning how to do this yourself is really key. We also see a lot of flange sizing adjustments at the first couple weeks after birth, for sure. 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months beyond. Like, it's common that these change a little bit. So I would dare say that having the best flange size and shape for your body is more important than getting a really powerful high-end pump. I'm going with it. I'm going to say it. Second thing I'd focus on would be settings. Some moms need really strong suction, and some have sensitive breasts and can only tolerate so much. Again, suction is such a small piece of how a breast pump works, and we've talked about that multiple times on the channel. I think it goes through it in that free course too, on just how suction is only one metric we're looking at. And again, you can't just forcefully suck out milk. I mean, I guess you can to some extent, but that is not the ideal way to do things. So strong suction and more suction is not always better. In fact, sometimes it does cause the opposite problem. It's important to be able to find that setting that works best for you, knowing what to look for, knowing how to experiment, and then using that in combination with cycle speeds to mimic your baby's natural rhythm. Fast and light to trigger the letdowns, slower speed and stronger suction once the milk starts flowing, and then going back and forth too to initiate letdowns. And actually, speaking of letdowns, that's third on my list, is mastering your letdown response. You should be having multiple letdowns every pumping session. And relaxation and kind of the mental game here is pretty key. Oxytocin is the hormone that triggers letdowns, and it's brought on by feelings of happiness, love, and relaxation. Maybe not terms that you usually use to describe your pumping sessions. I get it. There are several ways, though, to trigger letdowns, which I think we covered in some other videos here. I've got so many videos at this point. I'll put something in the description for you. But the biggest lesson here is to make sure that you're having multiple letdowns in a pumping session. And if this is something that you're really struggling with, like I see a lot of moms do, again, there's even more information in our course. That's probably the most robust place to find information. Fourth thing I would focus on would be frequency, making sure that you are removing milk consistently, enough to match and maintain your milk supply. And there's really no one size fits all here when it comes to pumping schedules, but I do like to encourage moms to find a rhythm that works well for you, both with your baby, with your life, and with what your milk supply can tolerate. So some moms are able to get away with pumping large amounts of milk 4 times a day. I had a student do that once. She had a large capacity and could pump really well. We taught her how. Her name was Shelly. If you want to watch that interview, I'll put it down below too because her story is pretty interesting. But we also have other moms with low pumping outputs, low storage capacities, meaning their breasts just can't hold a ton, and they have to pump quite a bit more often, 8 to sometimes 10 times a day. I don't love that. 8's kind of the max for me. If you're pumping more than 8 times, we got to work on some efficiency there. But it really varies greatly from one mom to another, also on how well you're removing milk. But the best thing you can do is to learn how your body works, what your milk supply can tolerate, how long can you go between sessions before you see negative consequences. The main goal is to remove milk often enough that your body can understand how much milk it needs to produce. Fifth would be your hormones. Your mental and emotional health plays such a big role in milk production and milk output. Making sure that you're not holding yourself back is challenging, but often it's an important piece to explore. And then 6th are pumping techniques. Your breast pump is a robot, so finding ways to humanize your pumping experience can not only help you boost your milk output, but it can also help you speed up the pumping process. Less time on the pump is always better, right? What I've seen is when you combine these 6 factors, almost any quality pump can perform well. The goal isn't to find the best pump, best ever pump created. It's to learn how your body responds and master the skills of efficient milk removal, and then find a pump that works best for your needs and lifestyle. In fact, in the years that I worked closely with moms inside of our coaching program, we had over 350 moms in there. I probably can only think of 10 that I recommended getting a different pump because the actual pump was the problem. That's how often it's simply a milk removal issue. So, how do you choose the best breast pump for you? That's probably why you clicked on this video. Instead of asking, what's the best breast pump on the market? Try asking yourself questions like, which pump fits my lifestyle and do I know how to use it efficiently? If you're exclusively pumping at home, you might prefer a stronger full-size pump with multiple setting options that you can really explore and customize. If you're looking for a little more flexibility, you might opt for a pump that is smaller, a portable pump that has a built-in rechargeable battery. If you're back to work or on the go, a small portable pump could be perfect, or a wearable pump might suit you well. I know I've worked with a lot of working moms who really had to use a wearable pump due to their job and life circumstances. And in that case, it's even more important with wearable pumps. I know I've said this before. I've been on multiple soapboxes about wearable pumps, but it is crucial that you know how to remove milk effectively if your milk supply is going to rely on a wearable pump. It makes me nervous. It can be done, and a lot of our students do that, but you really have to know what you're doing. Okay, so here's the key takeaway. The best breast pump for you is the one that you understand, the one that fits into your lifestyle and helps you meet your milk supply goals, and the one that you know how to use efficiently and confidently. If you're still trying to choose a breast pump, then start with our free course. That will guide you through the entire process in detail, walk you step by step onto what metrics matter, how do we evaluate pumps, things like that. If that kind of thing already makes sense to you, or if you go through that free course, or maybe you've already been through it on our channel because you've been here a while, I would love that. If you're like, okay, I get it. All right, I already have a pump. The next step is to learn how to pump efficiently. And that matters honestly more than the pump that you buy. If you're in that spot, you're ready for the next step, which is our Pumping Efficiently course. You will learn exactly how to use your pump correctly for you. Okay, this is very specific to you. This is not just general pumping information. I want you to know how to set your suction and cycle speeds. I want you to be able to measure your perfect flange size and readjust it as needed. I want you to know how to trigger multiple letdowns quickly so that you're not stuck to the pump forever. I want you to get your hormones to start working in a way that are not holding you back so you can pump faster and with less stress. If you want to stop worrying about finding the perfect pump and start feeling confident with the one that you chose, check out that link below for that course. That'll be your next step. Okay, tell me in the comments, what pump are you using? Have you ever been disappointed by a pump that others really love? I would love to hear your story. If you are going to be pumping, make sure you're subscribed because we put out pumping videos every single week with weekly guidance and help for you. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy pumping.